So namaste. So today's topic is concentration. So when I was going through the compilation of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, it was very interesting that this particular topic, concentration, is extremely practical and implementable in integral yoga. So far there were several topics that we have been discussing: sincerity, perfection, gratitude, so many things. But this particular aspect, or rather power of concentration, is something that all of us can strive to develop. And as we go through our day-to-day activities, this is something that can be embedded. So that's the reason why it was extremely interesting and a beautiful journey to go over this particular topic. So the structure of today's session, we're going to start with understanding what is the meaning of concentration and why is it important, or how is it rather useful to us in our sadhana, and we will quickly move to what are the different sorts of practices, concentration practices, that we can actually start implementing in our own life so that we can progress better. So concentration means simply gathering all our energies, scattered movements of consciousness towards one particular idea. It can be a point, it can be a thought, or anything that we want to focus on. So today, we can just check all of our own selves. Are we concentrated right now? So right now we have started the talk. Are we able to gather ourselves to be present here, and are we able to absorb as much as what's being presented here? So it's a quick check. Or is our, because usual tendency, or rather the nature of our mind, is constantly jumping from one aspect to another. And if we look at, if we observe our thoughts, we are constantly thinking, okay, what is it that I have to do next? What did we do yesterday? What is it that I have to do right now? All these things are definitely affecting our concentration. It's not allowing us to, build that concentration, that focused energy. And concentration is an active state, which means that we have to, the more we are focused on it, the better we will be able to realize the power of concentration. It's not like, okay, for example, let's understand it along with meditation. So I am sitting for meditation, you close your eyes. Okay, you have started your meditation, but are you concentrating in your meditation is a questionable aspect, because are you able to bring your energy, your concentration on a fixed aspect? Or are you just like, your mind is wandering, you're trying to think about that, this, and again thinking about mother, thinking about another god, whatever. And again, okay, you are thinking, what is it that I'm going to receive from this meditation? So your mind is jumping from here and there. But concentration, the more you are getting deeper into it, the more you are, in it, it is not something that you get out of. The more you have to work on it, the better you're going to get benefit out of it. That's the reason why it's an active state. And an interesting aspect is we can concentrate mentally, that is, we can concentrate in our thoughts, we can concentrate vitally, that is, you can check whether your emotions are concentrated. Then you can check whether psychically you are concentrated, that is, are you able to be close to your psychic being at all times? Are you able to reflect what the psychic being is telling you, how it's guiding you? And physically also there is a concentration. For example, Are you able to, be concentrated in such a way that you are having control over your nerves and the functioning, bodily functions as well? For example, digestion. Are you aware how your body is digesting the food? Are you aware of the respiratory system, how it's functioning? Therefore, physical concentration is also something very important. So there are different levels, and what Aurobindo also talks about is an integral concentration, where all of these parts of our being are coming together in a concentrated way. So, and in fact he says that it's more difficult than meditation, like we have discussed. So concentration can be found an interesting aspect, and why it is extremely important in integral yoga is we all can actually build our concentration and live our day-to-day life. That is, as you are sitting for the talk here, you can become concentrated. Listen, as you are walking out of the ashram, you can walk in a concentrated way. You can drive in a concentrated way. So this aspect can be practiced throughout our day. So that's the reason why it's a very dynamic aspect, dynamic power that we all have. Now we will understand, slowly I've also introduced the difference between meditation and concentration. Meditation, if we have to see, it's purely a mental activity where we are trying to focus and we are trying to silence our mind, we are trying to see how our thoughts are coming, we are trying to separate ourselves from the thoughts. However, concentration is a more focused practice, and it can be spread out in our day-to-day activities, like I mentioned. So, you can do 24 hours of meditation. Of course, there are some vipassana meditations which happen for 10 hours, 12 hours. But what is happening after that 12 hours? Are you able to still be in that concentrated way? That's questionable, because meditation, okay, you're doing, but when you're out of the meditation, what is the state of your mind? Versus if you are practicing being in a concentrated way throughout the day, you are way more effective and you are progressing in a faster way. And another thing, like I said, how you can concentrate with all your parts of the being. So meditation, like I said, it's mostly a mental practice. And again, in sadhana, by concentration, all the energy, will, aspiration must be turned only towards the divine and his integral realization in our consciousness. Now, how do we embed this concentration into the realization of the divine is the more we are doing. So I'm giving a talk right now to all of you. Am I able to gather my energy, gather my consciousness and be open to the Mother and Sri Aurobindo, so that their light is being reflected on all of you or not? If I am able to be that, then it means that I am able to be more concentrated within myself and allowing the divine light to be able to be a better instrument. So that's one of the aspects of concentration. And another thing, contemplation is another aspect which is closely related to concentration. Now this contemplation is nothing but opening upwards and receiving the divine aspirate. So it's more in the form of an aspiration. Are you able to open yourself to the divine force, to the divine light, to the divine knowledge? And how are you receiving it? So that aspect is referred to as contemplation. So of course, contemplation can also happen in a concentrated way. So the more you're concentrated in your aspiration, your contemplation is going to enhance. So it's very interesting, as we are discussing, you observe how concentration can be done, or rather can be connected to different aspects of integral yoga that we are already aware of. That is, are you able to have a concentrated sincerity? Are you able to be concentratively feeling gratitude? Are you having concentrated peace? So this concentration can be connected to everything else, and that's when it enhances the power of whatever we are doing. So now let us move to understand the importance. Why is it important? So like I said, whichever activity we want to take up, we cannot achieve anything without having the concentration. So because we are all having our mind which is so dispersed and which is so confused all the time, that is the nature of the mind. So the more we are able to develop this concentration, the more we are able to actually focus on something and achieve something. So it's important to train this mind to be in a concentrated manner to seek whatever we are seeking. So concentration on a single thing in order to attain one's aim is very necessary for the human mind in its normal functioning. So if any of us want to achieve excel, for example, if you are a sports person, athlete, you want to be the best sports person, best singer, best student, best musician. For any of these, the answer is concentration. The more we are able to work on building our concentration, the better we are going to excel in whatever we take up. So an interesting here aspect is there is nothing in the human or even in the superhuman field to which the power of concentration is not the key. Which means the solution for anything that we want in any of the realms, even in the superhuman level also, we need that concentration, is what Aurobindo is telling us. And it's not that we don't have it. Each of us have different levels of concentration. That's the reason why we are where we are in our lives. If you look back, reflect, you must have done so many things, achieved so many things. And if you reflect what was the reason for you all to be successful, or whatever you did, how were you able to do it? It was surely the role of concentration it was important, it did play a role in helping you achieve what you wanted to achieve. So the value of a man also, if you have to understand somebody, what is the value of this person? Is this person worth something? If you have to test somebody, Mother says it is in proportion to the capacity of the concentrated attention that person has. So you can understand, the greater the concentration ability that person has, the more exceptional the person can become. And of course, towards genius, becoming a genius as well. So then, so something very closely connected to concentration is the willpower. So in our day-to-day life, the action, in the view of action, if we have to see what is important, is the will. To execute something, we need that willpower. But in our day-to-day life, what is important to be effective is the concentration. From the intellectual aspect, you want to achieve something, the answer is the power of concentration. And what sort of a concentration? Of course, something that is extremely unshakable and extremely not wavering, more of a perfect concentration. So at any moment, whatever, one may pause, concentrate for a while and aspire, and quite naturally the contact is established and all problems which were to be solved are solved. So at any moment, whatever you're doing, you feel stuck, you feel like you're lost, you don't know what to do, how should I proceed? So at that moment, mother says a simple answer. Just step back first, whatever you're doing, silence your thoughts, concentratedly try to focus and aspire for the light. And just be there. Don't think about what problem, how am I going to solve it. Leave those thoughts aside, and your focus, or rather your concentration, should be in receiving. And that's when you will receive a solution, you will receive an answer, and her grace is going to be there and come to you. So that's an interesting kind of a mantra of why concentration is important. And there are some sadhaks who, or rather even people who just want to improve the power of concentration, and just they want to without following any idea, they just want to sit down and focus on something, concentrate, go deeper. Therefore, they can improve their level of concentration. For example, you want to focus on this particular object. So the goal that you have is to improve your concentration. So you want to sit down and you try focusing on this glass. The more you concentrate, the more you are looking at it. Mother says there is a time that you become one with this object, where you identify this, your consciousness identifies with this consciousness, and you are able to move to the other consciousness, for example, of this glass. You are able to move to the consciousness of this glass to understand the truth in it. And that's where you are able to grasp the entire truth and know what it is, what its real sense, in its real sense, what it means, what is the truth of something. So that's another aspect of concentration which can also allow you to know something in its entirety, in its truth. So we are able to know what a particular thing, so the powers of concentration, we are able to know something in its truth, and we are able to also anything that we want to achieve. Concentration is something which is the foundation. And it's an interesting quote, another aspect what mother says, we can use concentration. By concentration, again, the whole will can be gathered up for the acquisition of that which is still ungrasped, still beyond us. This power, if it is sufficiently trained, sufficiently single-minded, sincere, sure of itself, faithful to itself alone, absolute in faith, we can use for the acquisition of any object whatsoever. But to grasp spiritually that one object worthy of pursuit, which is also one subject worthy of knowledge. So we can use this concentration to receive the divine's light. Basically, the answer to this is, what is the object pursuit? What is the object worthy of pursuit? It is the divine. So we can, of course, apart from the divine, we can use this to do anything in our lives. But the more we use it for this, it makes more sense, is what mother is saying. And also we can become the state where we are in. By concentration, we can become whatever we want. For example, she says, if we are a mass of weakness and having a lot of fears, by developing this power of concentration, we can become somebody who is very courageous, somebody who is very pure, holy, and somebody who is having a lot of strength and absolutely pure, pure absolute being. We can become or rather transform where we are to this particular state by the help of concentration. So far we have understood the meaning, we've understood how beautiful this power of concentration, how we can utilize this, what it is in integral yoga. So if we have to get a little more deeper in understanding this concentration, in our yoga, that is in integral yoga, when the consciousness is fixed on a particular state, now this particular state can be peace. We want to move to where we are, to a state where we are absolutely peaceful. So that is where concentration can help us, or a movement, that is aspiration, concentration in our aspiration. For example, maybe repeating the mother's name, and if you want coming in contact with the mother, just standing in front of the mother's photograph, are you able to look into her eyes? Are you able to concentrate your energy in connecting with her consciousness? Are you able to do that? So that is something which is important in integral yoga with respect to concentration. An extension and intensification of normal power of concentration is what yogic concentration means, to realize the object of yoga, which is the integral union with the divine. So beyond the normal concentration, are you able to extend and intensify this so that you are able to be in union with the divine? So concentration is indeed the first condition of any yoga. But what sort of a concentration that we need in an integral yoga? It is an all-receiving concentration. That is the very nature of integral yoga. A wide, massive opening, a harmonized concentration of the whole being in all its parts and through all its powers upon the divine is the larger action of this yoga, without which it cannot achieve its purpose. So this all-receiving concentration is all the time, are you able to be aware? Are you able to be concentrated in receiving what the divine is constantly telling you? So she's there always with you. But are you able to feel her with you in everything that you are doing, talking, acting, working? So that's where we have to develop this all-receiving concentration, which is constantly open. And it's not like you're rejecting something that is not helpful. So in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, it's more of transforming what is unhelpful to how we can use that, not reject it, but transform it to allow us to progress towards the higher regions of the path in the integral yoga. So are you able to transform your lower nature towards the higher nature? So that's something that we should all be doing while we are practicing this all-receiving concentration. So again, a little more description of this very, very beautiful quotation. You can just close your eyes and feel the power of this quote. There must be a large, many-sided, yet single concentration of the thought on the idea, the perception, the vision, the awakening touch, the soul's realization of the one divine. There must be a flaming concentration of the heart on the seeking of the all and eternal. And when once we have found him, a deep plunging and immersion in the possession and ecstasy of the all beautiful. There must be a strong and immovable concentration of the will on the attainment and fulfillment of all that the divine is, and a free and plastic opening of it to all that he intends to manifest in us. This is the triple way of the yoga. So very, very beautifully, I think summed up everything in this particular quote of what exactly should the concentration be and how we're supposed to maintain throughout so that it is embedded in our lives. And how beautifully he says deep plunging and immersion in the possession and ecstasy of the all beautiful. So the joy of living in the divine's presence. He describes it, and I mean, if you look at the Tales of Prison Life book, how he describes his experience in Alipur jail. Once he had Sri Krishna's vision, and how he felt extremely ecstatic, the divine ecstasy. Very, very beautiful. So now we are slowly moving to how can we develop this concentration in our day-to-day life. So the mother says, just like how we develop our muscles, we go to the gym and we work on our body to build. Similarly, concentration can also scientifically be developed in a methodical way by training our mind. So there are so many practices which the mother gives in order to build the power of concentration. So wherever we are, whatever state of concentration we have, if we are able to follow some of these practices, we are able to build the power of concentration. So just like the muscle building, concentration building is what we can go to. So let us now see what are these ways, what are these practices. So the first practice is when we want a solution for any problem, what can we do? So the mother says our mind becomes very cloudy, almost like there's a fog that is blocking our mind from understanding a particular problem. So then what should you do? So concentration is extremely important in removing that cloud of haziness, disturbance, confusion. And again, how do you do this? How do you use this concentration? It's not like you're actively trying to think of the problem. That's not what mother is saying. But you look at the problem, you visualize the problem and try to concentrate. So you're going deeper with the problem, and the more deeper you go, the more you're gathered in your mental energy. You're fixing that to a particular point towards the problem. Almost very symbolically, mother says, as if you're drilling a hole. So imagine, visualize that towards the problem you're drilling a hole and your energy is focused onto it, and suddenly the solution is going to come. You're almost going to the other side of the problem where you are able to see what exactly is the solution to this. So in our day-to-day life also, any activity, you can embed this concentration. For example, playing basketball, playing or cooking or cleaning, anytime when you are able to be concentrated, she says the effectiveness with which we do that activity can be enhanced to a great extent, and somewhere you feel an unexpected strength. So the more you're concentrated and the more you're receiving, so you're always aligned to what the divine is constantly pouring down. So there's an abundance of peace, abundance of light, knowledge that is there in the space above. But because we are so lost in our day-to-day lives, we are not able to experience it. So the more you are concentrated, the more you are receiving it, and the more you are expelling it in your day-to-day activities. So she says that the more you are able to work in a concentrated way, even the time that you are doing a particular task significantly reduces. What you can do in 1 hour, you can do it in actually quarter of an hour is what she says, if you are working on building this concentration. And even another thing also, she says that, even if there are any obstacles, if you are very concentrated in particular in what you are doing, even the obstacles cannot harm you. So you will do it with an altogether unexpected strength, and at the same time keep your consciousness so high and so pure that nothing will be able to touch you any longer. And this can go so far for that even an accident occurs, it will not hurt you. Naturally, this is a peak, but it is a peak to which one can aspire. Right? And like I said, how should we all do a particular work in a concentrated way? So she says, take up any work. Right now I'm trying to talk to you. So am I being the work that I'm doing? Am I able to identify with this work so much so that I'm becoming one with it? So that shows that we are, doing in a concentrated. Or am I thinking, okay, am I saying this right? Is this making sense? Am I being a perfect instrument? If I'm constantly questioning, that means that there is an I and divine is different and the concentration is dispersed. So one example she gives, when you're filling the water bottle, we all must have done it in our lives. So we're slowly transferring from one bottle to another. So you're doing it with a lot of concentration, yes. The moment you start to think, hey, I'm doing this right, there is a chance that you spill. Now what's happening here? Your concentration is shifting from what you're doing to the ego. So the ego is coming into itself, and instead of succeeding in becoming what you're doing, you are shifting your attention to this. So it's the same for everything she says. Work is a good means of discipline. If you want to work properly, you have to become the work itself. So that's the only way of doing it perfectly and beautifully. So also there is another advantage of becoming the work, because it's not you who is doing, it is the force that is doing and you are being the enabler. So there is a state that she says that the body will go on doing its work by the force acting within it. And even the external consciousness can work separately under the motion of the force, while the rest of the consciousness is in concentration, which means that inside I am able to be concentrated, and that is something which is reflecting in what I am doing. So for example, I am cooking and being concentrated within. So my movements are so in harmony that it is just flowing with what I am supposed to do. So that's the beautiful state where the consciousness divides into two parts. One, the inner poised in the divine, and the outer being doing the work. So Mother says she herself had this experience, and that fully concentrated and being in union with the divine and physically doing all her works. So, and it's also very important while you're doing this, minimize the talking that we usually do with others. So the useless talk should be taken away. And yes, like I said, even when the more we are able to be in concentration, the time that we take is also reduced, and the fatigue that we experience also significantly reduces if you are able to be, or rather work in a more concentrated way. So most common complaint for all of us, is I don't have energy, I can't do this. And that's only because we are not able to be concentrated throughout the day. That's the reason why we feel extremely fatigue and tension in all our nerves. But the more we are able to be concentrated, the better you are going to work throughout the day. And also, what attitude do we need to have towards this work? Okay, you're concentrated. It's again like I discussed, the ego, you're keeping it aside. Also doing the work, she says, disinterestedly. Again, that does not mean being indifferent to work. So disinterestedness is not attaching to the work that you're doing. You're able to detach and you're able to just work as you're supposed to. So not being like, okay, I don't know, I don't care what I'm doing, I don't know what I'm doing. It's not that state. So that is also something that she says. So one in a very nice quote that she gives, by dhyana you awake the inner being. So by meditation, by dhyana, we awake the inner being. By concentration in life, in work, in the outer consciousness, you make the outer being also fit to receive the divine light and force. So it's not only the inner being, but the outer being is also slowly turning inward. So that's the power of concentration. So another practice is, I think, overthinking, negative thinking is a very, very common problem to most of us. So what do we do? Suddenly you're getting so many negative thoughts. So sit down, first observe what is that negative thought that you're getting. Write it down in a piece of paper and put as much consciousness and concentrate on that negative thought, to be away from you and tear it up. And using that will, you are taking it out of your body. So the thought will be torn up in the same way, and that's how you'll also symbolically you're getting rid of that particular thought. So that's what mothers suggest you. And another practice which I think most of us are already usually used to is concentrating on certain books and photographs. So when can we do this? So again, whenever we have any problem or in our own sadhana we feel stuck, I'm not able to aspire, I'm not able to progress. So anytime we feel stuck, open any of the books of the mother or Sri Aurobindo. For example, she gives Synthesis of Yoga, Savitri. So concentrate yourself, aspire that you want a solution, you want a guidance to whatever you're struggling with. Open a page and see where your eyes fall on. It's not a mental practice, okay, what should I read, what should I read? Don't put so much pressure, but aspire and open, and she says you will find the solution there. Because these books have been written by Sri Aurobindo with such force, such consciousness, that once you are able to come in contact with that consciousness, you will be able to receive his guidance immediately. So very, very beautiful, quick solution to anything that we are constantly struggling. So every book, on account of the words it contains, is like a small accumulator of these forces. People don't know this, for they don't know how to make use of it. But it is so. Similarly, every picture of the mother, Sri Aurobindo, or any realized soul, she says, has the consciousness of that person who is there in the picture. So that's the reason why you see a lot of times you just something is troubling you, you go there right in front of the mother's picture or any person, just close your eyes and pray, and immediately you feel, okay, I feel lighter. It's not like immediately there's a solution, but you feel better, you feel positive, and you feel like doing it again and again. Because a small accumulation representative of the force of the person whose picture it is, of his nature, if he has powers, of his powers, is there in that. And when you are able to be sincere and aspire, you are able to connect to that consciousness. And again, how can we read Sri Aurobindo's books or the mother's books? Like what sort of a concentration that we need to have? You must read with great attention and concentration. Not novels or dramas, but books that make you think. You must meditate on what you have read. Reflect on a thought until you have understood it. talk little, remain quiet and concentrated, and speak only when it is indispensable. So I don't know what your experience is, but whenever I have to reach Aurobindo, first I feel like, okay, first I will do meditation, silence all my thoughts, and then I will open Sri Aurobindo so that I am able to at least understand a little bit of what he's trying to convey, or what the yoga that he is trying to describe. So any of the books that you want to read which are of highly spiritually significant, it's extremely important to first silence and be the concentrated way so that you can receive a lot. That goes to again, just listening to any of the talks. There are so many spiritual masters give you talks. To receive that better, the more we are concentrated, the better we can receive. So one sadhak asks, why does meditation in front of different photos of you give different experiences? So it is true, Mother says that there are different photos that manifest different forces, different powers. So for example, there are different pictures that Mother has given for Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, Mahasaraswati. There are different powers of the Mother, and that particular photograph actually emanates that sort of an energy, that sort of consciousness. If you sit in front of that photograph and aspire, you will be able to receive much, anything connecting to that particular divine personality. And then concentration to prevent illness. Again, we can, very powerful exercise, Mother says, the more we are able to be quiet, silent, and observe what's happening in our body, we are also able to detect an illness that is going to come to us. And at that point in time, so I'm sure like at some point you all must have understood, okay, I am going to fall sick. You feel that discomfort. That is a moment where you can concentrate and aspire for the divine light to heal and not allow any kind of illness to enter your body. So that is also, that uneasiness. But again, here she says it's not like, okay, I'll wait for 5 minutes and then I'll do it. Even in that 1 minute, you're able to catch that illness and you can become sick. So that second when you realize that, you're feeling that uneasiness, so do not lose that contact, establish that contact. So if at that moment you're sufficiently alert, you say no, as though you were cutting off the contact with great strength, it is finished. But if you're not conscious at that moment, the next minute or a few minutes later, you get a queer sick feeling inside, a cold in the back, little uneasiness, and some disharmony. So this is also a beautiful practice that we can see how we are able to also not allow that illness to be there. And when you are sick, what can you do? She also says when we are sick, we fall sick. Now we want to heal ourselves. We have that power to heal ourselves by aspiring for the divine light. Now how do we do it again? Sit, concentrate. It can take less time or more time, even hours together. You are only concentrating and calling that light to heal whichever part of the body is aching, in pain, is having a disease. So calling that force constantly till you see that it is there. You have received it and it is healing. So you do that concentratedly for a long time till you feel that you are being cured. So concentrate the force coming from above, the spiritual force, on the diseased parts, and they will improve. So I think personally also, if I have to share, this is something that I've experienced, where I was in Pondicherry and I was extremely sick. Suddenly I felt like there's a lot of stomach pain, like very acute, and I was constantly only, I was sure that I will be healed. So with that, I was only praying, Mother, I am in Pondicherry, and I want to feel your force light. And I think it was for 15-20 minutes I was struggling and I was only concentrating, and after like 20 minutes I just drank a glass of water and I was fine. I could go to sleep after that. So very, very beautiful that, it's all about whether we're doing this or not. Are we able to think of it? Are we able to trust her force? Are we able to call so that she can do what it's meant to be? A ceaseless effort, a constant concentration to call down the regenerating force and to increase the receptivity of the cells to this force, to fight step by step from point to point against the devastating action of the forces of destruction and decline, to tear out of its grasp everything that is capable of responding to the ascending urge to enlighten, purify and stabilize. Again, an extremely powerful quote, that how we can transform ourselves. And another practice is how can we listen and speak with concentration. So when somebody is speaking, the more concentrated you are, the more you are able to enter into their consciousness and perceive what they are trying to tell you. A lot of times we fight with somebody, I want this, you want this, so it's always a constant bit, but are you able to understand, see why they are saying something? So the more you are concentrated, the more you are able to understand their world, their consciousness, and then you know what it is, and then it's going to be a better relationship. So she says, be like a mirror, very concentrated. Don't try to think what the person is saying. Don't try to repel, react, but just be a mirror and be concentrated, and you will be able to understand what it is. And even how do we speak? When you speak, before the words come out of your mouth, concentrate just long enough to check your words and allow only those who are absolutely necessary to pass, only those that are not in any way harmful to your progress on the path of great discovery of the psychic being. So this is also an extremely challenging practice that constantly keeping a check on what are we saying, what is coming out of our mouth, concentrating and allowing what is necessary. So that if we are able to practice, I think we're going to really be there. So many hours of silent concentration are needed to be able to speak usefully for a few minutes. To make sense, to say something with power. It's not about how much we read, how much we learn, but how concentrated are we, how much meditation we have been doing so that we are able to develop that power of saying what exactly is right. And concentration on music. When we listen to the music also, she says great musicians just fall silent, quiet, in a concentrated way. They don't even move, they just sit still, where they are able to just become one with that the music that is coming on, with all the sound of the feelings, movement of emotions. You are able to perceive it, experience it without that noise in your head. When you are able to separate that and just complete silence, you are able to just go deep with what's happening. And then remote communication is another thing that is possible with concentration. The more you are able to be concentrated, the more you are also able to see if, for example, you have somebody abroad and that person wants to tell you there is some danger or something that is coming to you. If you are able to have, that very strong thought power and this concentration, and you are able to concentrate on that person and see what that person is telling, you are also able to receive things that he wants to tell you without even personally connecting to him. So that is also something that is possible with concentration. And sleep. So we have 5 more minutes, so I would like to talk a little about sleep, and then we will also talk about a few more things before we end. So sleep is also something which Mother says will put us in touch with the divine. So it's extremely important to just concentrate that few minutes before going to bed, aspire whatever mistakes that we have done through the day, whenever we were not conscious, just acknowledging those and being open to her force. Even the dreams, we are able to remember better if we are able to be concentrated in those few minutes before we wake up. So in that subtle stage also you will be able to remember dreams. And so again the big question is, where can we concentrate? So Sri Aurobindo and the Mother talk about 3 areas that we can concentrate while we are doing meditation. One, of course, concentrating between the eyebrows is a common practice. There's nothing harm in it. However, there is a chance that it could, you could mentalize it and we could be lost in those thoughts. That is something which Sri Aurobindo says. So the best method is to concentrate in the heart and concentrate above your head, where you are receiving the divine light and you are able to open up from within to receive and to experience her light. So here it's a 2-3 quotes that I will read, very, very beautiful. Concentration in the heart, which is needed to bring out the psychic being, and the calling down of the descent from above, are 2 sides of the same thing and are complementary and can go naturally together. The peace is there in the depths of your heart. Concentrate there and you will find it. Concentration in the heart is not meditation. It is a call on the divine, on the beloved. It's very, very beautiful. The object of concentration in the head is to rise to the divine consciousness and bring down the light of the Mother or her force or Ananda into all the centers. So I'd like to end by saying, there is concentration on specifically the Mother's force that we all can practice. And some things that she says, I carry you always in my arms, pressed close to my heart, and I have no doubt that you will become aware of it if you forget the world and concentrate on me. By turning your thoughts towards me, you will feel closer and closer to me, and peace will come to dwell in your heart. You are not so far from me as you think. You have only to calm the agitation of your mind and whiten a little. Remain a bit quiet and concentrated, and at once you will find my presence within you and around you. So beautifully. So when you have a little time, whether it is 1 hour or few minutes, tell yourself, at last I have some time to concentrate, to collect myself, to relive the purpose of my life, to offer myself to the true and the eternal. If you took care to do this each time, you are not harassed by outer circumstances. You would find out that you were advancing very quickly on the path. The number of hours spent in meditation is no proof of spiritual progress, but it is a proof of your progress when you no longer have to make an effort to meditate. So that's how we can aspire to reach. So the last beautiful quotation, and then with that I will end. That is, instead of being in a state of tension, instead of making a tremendous effort to silence the inner machine and be able to concentrate your thought upon what you want, when you do it quite simply, naturally, without effort, automatically, and you decide to meditate for some reason or other, what you want to see, learn or know remains in your consciousness, and all the rest disappears as a miracle. Everything falls quiet in you. All your being becomes silent. Your nerves are altogether soothed. Your consciousness is wholly concentrated, naturally and spontaneously, and you enter with an intense delight into a yet more intense contemplation. So the more we are able to not see it as a like a pressurized practice, but the more we are able to do it naturally, the beautiful it's going to be. So the last 2 minutes, I want all of you to just close your eyes. You can start with taking the mother's name, Ma, Ma, Ma. You can just concentrate on that. Slowly with that, you try to focus in your heart and experience the love, the abundance of love that she is pouring to you all the time.